this is, he's going to be doing the presentation that he did at Code Camp, which was very well attended. I looked in and saw all the people standing, who, if you were in his session, you know it was a packed session. And it was very well received, and I'm looking forward to hearing it. And with that, have at it, mister.
So we just had power supply to the splat?
Yes.
How do I, Jeff? How do I dim the slides?
Oh, I got it. You said Jeff had one of these lots, and I
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go. That's
All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Ritesh Kothari. I work as an independent consultant in Atlanta region, and in my current contract, I'm working with Center for Disease Control and Prevention as an architect and lead developer. So today I'm going to present one of the hottest topic in the jQuery world, that is jQuery templates. So if you're on LinkedIn and want to professionally network with me, feel free to send me an invite. So before we get started, just to get a feel of the audience, if you can please let me know how many of you have worked with any kind of ASP.NET? Almost everybody. How about jQuery? Okay. ASP.NET Ajax? Okay. Has anybody played with jQuery templates? Okay. So at any point of time, if you feel that I'm going fast or if you have any question, feel free to interrupt me. Just raise your hand and I'll stop by for questions. So what we are going to see today is we'll see the interesting development that is going on between Microsoft and jQuery. Then I'll briefly introduce to jQuery templates. And then we'll see what are the advantages of using client-side templates. And this presentation is packed with heavy demos, so majority of the time you'll be seeing the code. So yeah, interesting slide. So what's going on between Microsoft and jQuery? Yeah. Well, Microsoft has heavily adopted jQuery, and that too very warmly. This brought a lot of surprise to many, because Microsoft has never been a big supportive of open source project. Although Microsoft has the ASP.NET Control Toolkit and the ASP.NET Ajax client library as the open source project, but the initial versions were either server-centric or very much Microsoft focused. So it all started with Microsoft announcing that it would provide official support for jQuery. Now, what this means is, let's say you have support subscriptions with Microsoft, you can call Microsoft for jQuery problems. Now, this opened floodgates for developers who work with Microsoft technologies. I mean, one of the biggest problems with open source project is somebody saying that, hey, I will provide an official support. So Microsoft kind of do that. Made jQuery really popular. So ASP.NET MVC, unlike web forms, there is no concept of user controls, and it heavily relies on jQuery. So when ASP.NET MVC was shipped, it included jQuery along with it. So this was the first time when Microsoft bundled a third-party open source library with its deployment. So Microsoft then hosted jQuery on its CDN. So ASP.NET MVC was an out-of-band release, and it was released after 2008. So the next version of Visual Studio, that is Visual Studio 2010, when it was released, it also included jQuery along with it. So today when you create a ASP.NET Web Form project or a MVC or a Web Matrix project, you will see jQuery included in your script folders. The biggest surprise came in Mix 2010 when Scott Guthrie announced that Microsoft would be contributing for jQuery project. So they announced 3 plugins. We are going to see today about templates. And one of the biggest strength of Microsoft has been in terms of data binding. So if you are a WPF or a Silverlight developer, then you might be aware of concept like a one-way or a two-way binding. So the data link plugin brings similar concept to the people who are in the JavaScript world. So Microsoft also has strength in terms of globalization, because Microsoft is one of the major company who has its product in almost all the countries. So Microsoft understands globalization very well. So if you want to create a culture of their application, then you may want to use the globalization plugin. And it supports over 350 cultures. So of this, template and the globalization are now owned by the jQuery UI team. The data link kind of fell apart. It currently does not have a home within the jQuery. And Microsoft has kind of taken a step back, and now Microsoft is now looking to see how it can integrate this along with the template to create something like a super template. There's also very major project coming up within the jQuery world, creating a UI grid. So just imagine having a full-fledged data grid which runs totally on your browser. So there are several sponsors for this, and Microsoft is one of them. So the UI grid heavily relies on the templates. So that shows how really important the template plugin is. And now the requirement for the templates is now driven by the UI grid. Microsoft is also working on something called as a script loader. The code name is JS defer. So let's say you have a web page, and this web page is referencing about, let's say, 25 to 30 scripts. So if you refer so many scripts within your page, obviously the initial page load would be slow, because it has to go back and forth that many number of times, and it has to load all the JavaScripts. So what script loader does is it loads the JavaScript dynamically at runtime as and when it is needed. So one of the complex thing in doing this is you have to manage the dependencies. Let's say you load script A, which depends on B and C. So you have to make sure that when you load A, you also load B and C. So the script loader takes care of all these complexities. So a little background about the jQuery templates. So John Rusick, the creator of the Microsoft, he worked on a very small project called as micro-templating. And the ASP.NET team then took this as like a proof of concept. They heavily invested in this. They put a lot of resource in this, and they came up with a super plugin, and they named it as the template plugin. So throughout the development of this project, the Microsoft ASP.NET team received continuous feedback from the jQuery team, jQuery core team, especially from John Rusick. And community was heavily involved in shaping this plugin. So you are assured that this plugin which is coming up, which is very much jQuery, is not something which is Microsoft centric or something like that. So it's an official jQuery plugin, and is now owned by jQuery UI team. This is very important. God forbid, if Microsoft decides not to support this plugin, since it is considered as an official plugin, this means that the jQuery team will take care of in that situation. And currently it's in beta 1, and the minified version of this plugin is about 6 kilobyte. So wait a minute. Microsoft also has a similar product which does almost like what jQuery does. Yeah, I'm talking about the ASP.NET Ajax client library. What happened to that? Well, the ASP.NET Ajax client library is currently in Preview 6 now, and it's been in Preview 6 for quite some time. In fact, it's almost like an RTM quality, but it never reached the gold standard calling it as a released product. So it is still an open source project, still hosted on Microsoft CDN, but Microsoft is not actively looking to make any new developments. And instead now Microsoft says that, hey, jQuery is the way to go. So interestingly, ASP.NET Ajax 4.0 library had, yeah, you have a question?
Yeah, I mean, that means whatever you get through, whatever you're getting through Ajax, you can do through jQuery then?
Yes, I'm coming to that point. So the ASP.NET Ajax 4.0 library had some really interesting thing. Now, you will see that these are now getting rolled to the jQuery project in terms of templates or a data link plugin or JS defer. So we have similar things in ASP.NET Ajax 4.0 library. So what is templating? Well, in general, let's say you have a website and which has multiple web pages. So if you want to have a common look and feel among all your web pages, then you may want to use something called as a web template. It's simply a way to separate the concern. So you're separating your content from your data. For some reason, let's say if you want to change the look and feel of your project, all you have to do is, instead of going through each and every page and making change, you just have to change the template and it will change the whole website. And if you are a ASP.NET web form developer, then you might be aware of server controls like the repeater control or the list view control. So the jQuery template does exactly same thing what this control does, but everything is done on the client side. It runs in your browser. So essentially, what a templating engine does is, first, I mean, as a developer, you define the template, which is in the form of like an HTML expressions, okay? And then you get the data. Optionally, you can get the data from a server, and the templating engine takes these two, merges, and then it generates the HTML content for you, which you can inject this to your DOM. So why should I care about client-side templating? We have this powerful server-side languages like C# and VB.NET. Why should I care about writing this in some language like JavaScript? Well, the biggest advantage you get is the performance. It is always faster to get the JSON data from server to the client rather than getting a formatted data in the form of HTML. So the footprint of data is very small compared to the formatted data in the form of HTML. So essentially, we are comparing asynchronous JavaScript HTML to asynchronous JavaScript and JSON. Now, the modern desktops are not dumb machines like what it used to be before. Years before, yeah, they were not powerful, but these days it has a lot of